Okay, installment number 4, 2 for Time Travel video series. Artist of Focus, British folk rock amazing guitarist legend Richard Thompson. Sort of special for me. Richard Thompson he's one of a handful of guitarists who is in my number 2 spot. Mike Oldfield is in number 1 by himself, so pretty much untouchable there. But Richard Thompson, one of my guitar heroes for a long time. This installment is by request by my cousin Steve, so Steve, hope you enjoy this. Time period of focus, I'm sort of cheating a little bit. I'm focusing fairly recently, Richard Thompson's latest album, Dream Attic, which I just got last week. There's a song on there called Burning Man, which just really grabs me. It's obviously, if you listen to it, it's about the Burning Man festival. For those of you who don't know what that is, I recommend that you Google it. It's quite a phenomena of American popular culture. And this is Richard Thompson's observation, which is really kind of interesting because at first listen, you know, Richard Thompson. He can be sort of a pious sort of a character, and you can tell that he's not observing. You know, he's not looking at this festival in a very approving manner. And what I find interesting is, at first glance, it's sort of like this British folk guy trying to have these observations of this sort of American tradition that goes on out in the desert. But if you dig a little deeper, the Burning Man Festival really has some sort of pagan themes to it. And Richard Thompson, having come of age in the late 60s, early 70s British folk rock movement, would certainly be no stranger to that mentality. And so I think his observations are very interesting. That, of course, combined with his sort of intellectual prowess that he pretty much brings to anything he does. Okay, so that's Burning Man from Dream Attic. The second song, William O Winsbury. It's actually a traditional Scottish folk tune from as far back as the late 1700s, possibly further. Not a Thompson composition, but it's his version that I'm familiar with, and it's sort of a standard of you know, the British folk movement of the late 60s, early 70s, and Thompson was certainly a seminal figure of that era. So I've got no problem considering it a Richard Thompson song, for the purposes of this, what we're doing here. So anyway, without further ado, Dream Attic, Burning Man, the William O Winsbury. I have it on a retrospective box set. I don't know if it shows up anywhere else. You might be able to get some hits on YouTube if you want to hear Richard Thompson. I'll try to put a reference if I can find it on my channel. So anyway, thanks everybody for listening, and see you next installment.
daughter Janet, you look so pale and wan. Oh, have you had any soul sickness? Or yet been sleeping with your man? No, I have not had any soul sickness, no, yet been sleeping with your man. It is for you, my father dear, for biding so long in Spain. Cast off your berry brown gown, stand naked upon the stain, that I may keen you by your shape, whether you be a maiden or maid. And she's cast off her berry brown gown, stood naked upon the stain. Her apron was low and her haunches round, and her face was as pale and wan. Oh, was it with a lord or a duke or a knight, or a man of birth and fame? Or was it with one of my serving men that's lately come out of Spain? No, it wasn't with a lord or a duke or a knight, or a man of birth and fame, but it was with William of Winsbury. No longer alone. And the king, he has called on his merry men all, his merry men 33, singing, fetch me William of Winsbury, for hanged he shall be. But when he came before the king, he was clad in the red silk. His hair was like the strands of gold, and his skin was as white as milk. And it is no wonder, said the king, that my daughter's love you did win. If I were a woman as I am a man, my bedfellow you would have been. And will you marry my daughter Janet by the troth of your right hand? Oh, will you marry my daughter Janet? I'll make you the lord of my land. Oh yes, I'll marry your daughter Janet by the troth of my right hand. Oh yes, I'll marry your daughter Janet, but I'll not be the lord of your land. And he's mounted up on a milk-white steed, and himself a dapple grey. And he's made of the lady of as much land as she'll ride